All of these ETFs that I'm going to be talking about in this video have consistently outperformed the S&P 500 and will skyrocket your investment portfolio. And if your goal is to get rich faster and you're okay with a little more risk, then look no further. Now, the S&P 500 is an index that every investor wants to beat because it has provided excellent long-term returns of around 10% on average annually. But if you're able to get even 12, 14, or even 16% annual returns, then you could really skyrocket your portfolio to achieve financial freedom faster and retire with more money, or even retire earlier than if you just bought only the S&P 500. Personally, I'm yielding around 13.4% over the past 5 years annually by implementing some of the ETFs I'm going to be talking about in this video alongside an S&P 500 ETF, that of Vanguard's VOO. If you invest $500 a month for 20 years with a 10% annual return, you'd have a total balance at the end of it of $362,493. But if you invest the same amount for 20 years, but with a 13.4% annual return, then you'd have a total balance of over $545,699, which is a difference of nearly $200,000, or basically a free Lamborghini, for doing nothing besides adding a growth ETF to supercharge your portfolio alongside VOO, or even any S&P 500 ETF that you pick. So to kick us off in no particular order, the first ETF that I have is SCHG, or Charles Schwab's Large Cap Growth ETF. I love this ETF because it's great for investors who might not have a ton of money to invest with because of its low share price of under $100. Over the last 10 years, SCHG has brought in over 15% returns per year, and on a total return basis has totally crushed and outperformed the S&P 500, posting nearly 330% returns in the last 10 years and over 135% returns in the past 5 years. SCHG's expense ratio is very low at 0.04%, and its goal is to basically track large cap growth stocks of the Dow Jones US Large Cap Growth Total Stock Market Index. That was a lot of words to say, but it basically just tracks a ton of growth stocks. Its top holdings are mainly in technology, communication, and healthcare, with the best growth stocks in the finance world, that of Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, and Nvidia. SCHG has 251 holdings, and overall it's a great growth ETF for those who want a very low expense ratio, a low share price to buy every share with, and overall it's going to have amazing returns for those in the long run, so keep SCHG on your radar. The next ETF is VGT, which is Vanguard's Information Technology ETF. VGT seeks to track the investment return of stocks in the information technology sector. So if you love stocks of companies in the computer and technology sector, then this might be the one for you. Over the past 10 years, VGT has had an average yearly appreciation of over 20% annually, which is a literal cheat code for skyrocketing your returns. And on a total return basis, has easily outperformed the S&P 500 by posting over 500% gains in the last 10 and around 180% gains over the past 5 years. VGT's expense ratio is a little bit higher than that of SCHG of 0.1%, but it's still very low. Its top sector is of course going to be technology, since this is an information technology ETF with the best tech stocks in the world, that of Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia, and Broadcom. VGT has over 315 stocks, but since it's heavily concentrated into the technology sector, specifically IT, you are taking on more risk than that of SCHG, which has different sectors aside from tech. But VGT has the potential in the future to continue to outperform the S&P 500, since tech is not going anywhere, in my opinion, anytime soon. The next ETF is very similar to VGT, but in my opinion might be better, and that is FTEC, or FTEC, which is Fidelity's MSCI Information Technology Indexed ETF. FTEC seeks to track the MSCI USA IMI Information Technology 2550 Index, and over the past 10 years, FTEC has had average yearly return of nearly 20% and over 25% annual returns in the past 5 years, which definitely makes this ETF one of the best, in my opinion, for investors who love technology ETFs to do more research on it and maybe implement in their portfolios. With returns like that, of course it's going to totally crush the S&P 500, and it's not even close, as FTEC has posted over 500% returns over the past 10 years and almost 200% over the past 5 years. Its top sector is a no-brainer of technology with similar holdings of VGT, that of Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, and Broadcom. Where FTEC gets its edge against VGT besides its returns is on the expense ratio, as it has a lower expense ratio of 0.08% and over 302 companies. FTEC gets an overall 5-star rating from Morningstar, which is super hard to get and is really impressive. FTEC also has a super low expense ratio, insane share price returns, and it's easily one of the best ETFs in the long run that has the highest chance to crush the S&P 500. The next fund that has one of the highest chances to outperform the S&P 500 and has over the past 20 plus years is the Invesco QQQM ETF, which is literally the same ETF as the original QQQ, with a lower expense ratio and a lower share price. QQQM tracks the NASDAQ 100 index, which is a market cap weighted index that tracks 100 of the largest technology and non-financial stocks on the NASDAQ. Over the last 1, 3, 5, and even 10 years, the NASDAQ 100 has easily and strongly outperformed the S&P 500, which makes QQQM an absolutely ETF slayer in the S&P 500 realm. QQQM has had the ability of stocks inside of the fund to outperform other indexes like the Russell 1000 and the S&P 500 in 10-year compounded growth rates in stocks with great revenues, dividends, and earnings, and usually when the stocks do this, they tend to reap higher share prices. And since QQQM hasn't been out that long, and since QQQ is the same exact fund as QQQM in that they invest in the same exact stocks, I'm gonna be using QQQ's performance, as it has an insane performance of over 18% compounded annual returns. And if you invested in QQQM with $10,000, you would have made a larger amount of money with QQQM than if you did with only the S&P 500. Its top sector is of course going to be technology, since this is an information technology ETF, and since it has only 104 holdings, this might not seem like a lot, but all their stocks pack a punch, like that of Amazon, Apple, and Nvidia. And its expense ratio is going to be pretty low in my opinion, of 0.15%, which is higher than the other funds we just talked about, but you are paying for those returns over the past 20 years of outperformance. Overall, QQQM is one of the best growth ETFs for those who want a lower share price, because it's pretty cheap to buy in my opinion. It's going to have an excellent history of outperformance, literally outperforming the S&P 500, and it's one of the best indexes, that of the NASDAQ 100, and QQQM is cheaper than a QQQ, as QQQ has an expense ratio of 0.2%, so if you want to save more money in the long run, just buy QQQM and just hold it for a long time. Last but not least, we have XLK, or the Technology Select Sector SPDR Fund. XLK is absolutely tearing it up in the stock market with excellent and insane returns over the past few years, and it's honestly outperforming most of the ETFs on our list. XLK seeks to provide an effective representation of the technology sector of the S&P 500 index, and XLK has a very low expense ratio of 0.09%. It has 64 holdings, which makes XLK very concentrated in my opinion, and higher risk due to this asset concentration. But honestly, if you are very concentrated in an asset like technology and super low holdings like 64 holdings, you're going to be rewarded over time with outperformance. If that sector or all those stocks do well, it's going to be a lot higher returns than that of other ETFs with like 500 plus holdings. The 10-year average annual appreciation is over 20% with XLK, and that's literally a money printer with these insane returns of this and legit all the ETFs in this video that have done for investors. And lastly, of course, XLK is 100% in technology with top stocks like Microsoft, Apple, and Nvidia. Overall, all these ETFs in our list have had an average 18% annual return, which is crazy, and that's like shorting an amount and really supercharging your portfolio to be a multimillionaire as fast and as safely as possible. Now that about wraps it up with this video, guys. If you guys like this video, please give it a like for my new puppy that I just got. She bit me a lot. I don't know if you could see on the camera, but I have like marks over my hand. She's like teething all over me, so give it a like for my new puppy that I got, and comment down below a growth ETF that you guys are investing in. Comment down below your guys' favorites. I can't wait to hear it. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day and continue to crush in the stock market, guys. Take it easy. Peace.